All right, everybody, welcome to another What's on Dave's Shelf. And tonight we're going to be talking about BECMI, the basic D&D game. Not the very first iteration of Dungeons & Dragons. That was in a small white box set with paper pamphlet booklets. I don't have those. In fact, I actually do have one. I have the Deities and Demigods, which predates basic Dungeons and Dragons, but this is one of the books. It's not in the best of shape. I remember I spilt, as you can see, I spilt soda on this about 30 years ago. But the very first iteration of Dungeons and Dragons, they were all books like this, and it was in a white box set, and they're pretty rare. I got this Gods, Demigods, and Heroes from one of the pamphlets. I know that my friend, you guys could, enlarge your screen, but this is, products that TSR sold back in the late 70s and early 80s, and around 84, 85 when I got this, you could still order these. Some of them were sold out, but I was able to get the Gods and Demigods. I believe this is about $5. And I remember as a kid waiting for this book with bated breath every day. I was at the mailbox, and it probably took a couple, I'd say at least 2-3 months to get this book. But as a kid, this was the first package that I ever got with my name on it that said David Middleton. And man, I ripped that envelope up so quick. It was so awesome. This has, all of the Celtic gods, the Norse gods. I mean, there's Middle Eastern gods. There's everything. Asiatic. I mean, there's so much stuff in here. But this is the precursor that started it all for D&D. And they were all in these little white books. I believe there's about 8 to 12 books. And if you got a complete set, and if they're in really good shape and the box is in good shape, you got a pretty nice chunk of change there. So moving on, there were a couple of other iterations back in 1970. And I'm trying to go by what I remember reading throughout the years and stuff about basic Dungeons and Dragons and how it got going and stuff. So around 1974, and then in like 1974, this was the 1974 edition of D&D. And then in 1977, and then in 1979, there were some other box sets, and I'll post some images of those box sets in the video here so you can see them. But it had the massive dragon, and this is what the box set looks like. And this is the Holmes box set. Well, there were two of these. There was a B series box set and there was an X series box set. And this is one of the books from one of the box sets. And I can't for the life of me remember where I got this. I don't know if I got it at a bookstore, if I got it at a garage sale. I don't know. But this is actually in really good shape. And these beginning Holmes box sets, they came with B1, Search of the Unknown, and then also the expert module was Isle of Dread, which was X1. So this is the only book that I have. And look, even before dice and stuff, you could take these stickers and stuff and put them on your dice. That was pretty crazy. But this was the whole entire game, basically, back when the second iteration of Dungeons and Dragons came out. Well, the basic Dungeons and Dragons, but these, this was an early, this predates the red box and the blue box. So moving on from that, and if you have these box sets, which I don't, they can be pretty valuable as well, especially the 74 version has all of the booklets for the geomorphs, and also for the 3 booklets for the different level ranges of dungeons, like dungeon level 1 through 3 loot, dungeon level 4 to 7, or 4 to 6, and then 7 to 9. So, but yeah, those are pretty pricey. So this is basic Dungeons and Dragons as I got into D&D. And there's 5 box sets. And of course it's called BECMI. And in case you folks out there don't know what BECMI or BECMI stands for, that means it's the Basic, Expert, Companion, Master, and Immortal box set series. And as you can see, there are 5 box sets. And they're different color boxes. There's a red for basic. The expert is dark blue. There's an aqua blue companion, black for master, and then, the gray for immortals. And my mom bought me all these box sets back around 84, 87, especially when like the last one, Immortals, came out. But when we were playing at my friend's Terry's house, I had these all stacked up on the floor, and we were wrestling and throwing each other through our pyramids of Mountain Dew and Chet Cola cans and stuff. And I remember one of my friends was thrown on top of all of these boxes, and they were literally destroyed. And I didn't have these boxes for a long time. So when I went to El Paso Con, because I live in El Paso, it's in April, they have a lot. They have over 100 vendors selling things, comic book vendors, role-playing game stuff, just anything RPG stuff, cosplay stuff, everything. If you're ever passing through El Paso, around the 22nd, I really recommend checking out El Paso Con. It really blew my mind. It's massive. And so there was a vendor there from Arizona, and I picked up a couple of character sheet booklets for basic D&D that I didn't have. And in fact, I never saw one of them. And they were cheap. They were like $20 for one book and $15 for another. So I asked him, I said, "Do you have any other basic D&D stuff?" And I said, "I'm looking for empty boxes. I don't need the books." And I said, "I know it's going to be super hard to find these," but it was like totally MacGyver. I mean, it was MacGyver. This guy from Arizona had all 5 of these boxes that were sitting empty in his comic book / game store shop. He said since the early 90s. And he said he even thought about, he's put them on eBay and listed them before. They never sold. And he was thinking about throwing them out. And I was so, man, I was so gracious that he sold me these boxes. He sold me the boxes for $25 a piece. And it was a pretty amazing score, because I really honestly didn't think I was going to get boxes, especially boxes that were in this good of a condition, because I've been looking for probably about a year now, 8 months to a year for boxes, and I got all 5 of these. $125 for empty boxes is pretty expensive, but I mean, they're from the 80s. I mean, these things are seriously old. They're almost as old as I am. I mean, these things are. So I bought these without a doubt. And I can't wait to see what he's got this year. And El Paso Con's in 2.5 months. I cannot wait. It's going to be fun going again. So you also notice that Rule Cyclopedia is here as well. Well, all 5 of these box sets make the Rule Cyclopedia. And this came out in 1991. And I've got a couple stories for you for this as well. So without further ado, I want to open up these box sets for you guys one at a time and show you all of the awesome stuff that are in these box sets. So here's here's the red box. Everybody has supposedly had a red box. That's what everybody says. I always got that. My mom bought it for me. Well, here it is. If you've never seen it before, this is set 1. This is the basic rules. And inside this box, it has everything you need to play a game for levels 1 to 3. And that's it, 1 to 3. And on the back it has everything everything that comes with it, and it's got some other advertisements and stuff. And your first step in the road to adventure. So good. I can't tell you how many times I've flipped through this box set. So here's the little bag of dice that came with it. And I never really took them out of the bag because I had some other dice sets. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like these because they didn't match. And I thought they were ugly as sin. I really did. But unfortunately, my crayon broke. I don't know how the crayon broke, but it broke regardless. Because your box set would come with the dice and the crayon. So, but I didn't like these. I never opened them up. I had my own bag of dice. And then over time, my dice didn't match anyway, so I don't know why I never opened these up. But the box set comes with 2 books. And in fact, this box set does not come with any modules. It did not come with, In Search of the Unknown, or it did not come with Keep on the Borderlands. So, yeah, here's the player's manual. This is beautiful. I mean, this is in such good shape. I always took good care of my stuff. And this is 63 pages of level 1 through 3 stuff. I mean, just tons of, level 1, 2, 3 stuff for the players. I mean, it had everything you needed. And they were in paperback format. And all these pages are so white and clean. And I'm glad I took care of this stuff. But it had everything to make your characters. It had magic items. It had everything for your classes, how to play the game, how to read maps, how to make maps. It has an adventure in here. It's like a choose your own adventure. And you start at number 1 and you go, if you want to go right, then read number 42 and etc. And I wish there were more adventures like this for solo players. And there's some solo modules in the B series, which is a beginner series, and the X series, which is the expert series. And I have those, and I'll show you guys as well. But this was a pretty large adventure. And it was awesome. And, you got all of your class stuff here with the cleric. There were no separation for race and class. It was all one thing. So if you were a cleric, you were a human cleric. If you were, the magic user, you were a human. If you were the fighter, you were a human. If you were the rogue, or the rouge, as some people will say and spell it, then you were a human as well. And then, it had a piece of graph paper you could photocopy. Here's all your spells. There's a bunch of sample characters, and that's, your sample characters all right there. If you want to play a cleric, there it is right there. I mean, that's it. Basic D&D is advertised. It's basic. And that's what I loved about it. And basic Dungeons and Dragons, man. Wow, was that not a character grinder or what, man? So, it has everything. All of your prime requisite bonuses, everything you need to play, a level 1 to 3 game. It has all your spells, everything. I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. All that classic art in here, too. And all this classic art. And there's more about adventuring and ending the 100 choice adventure that you had. I mean, there's not a lot to playing basic D&D. I mean, it's a basic game. And that's everything in the basic level 1 to 3 player's handbook. And check that out. There's advertisements for Dragon Magazine. Remember when they used to print magazines? There's Star Frontiers. I mean, it's awesome. And the RPGA. That was a club that everybody, you played D&D, you were in the RPGA. You were in the Dungeons and Dragons club. And yeah, then you had a character sheet on the back and stuff. But yeah, these books are in beautiful shape. And oh, I even got the flyers. Oh man, I forgot I had these. But yeah, these were little flyers they had in there. And there you go. There's you could join your subscriptions for Dungeon and Dragon magazine. Oh man, this is awesome. This brings back, there it is. There's the RPGA, the Role Playing Game Associations, the D&D Nerd Club. There it is, right there. That's how you joined, right there, man. And look at that. You'd put your credit card information on there and then mail it in. Because, of course, back when this was a thing, if you paid with a credit card, there was no such thing as electronic transactions. Every company got a monthly book of all the bad people that never paid their credit cards. And if your credit card number was in that book, you were denied. Anybody remember that out there? That was, I remember when my parents, we owned a baseball card shop back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. I remember every month my mom and dad would hate getting that book because it was such a pain in the butt to look up credit card numbers. And if you accepted it, then that was on you, man. You wouldn't get paid. So here's Amazing Stories. This is another magazine that you could get into, and it had everything. Man, look at that. All those flyers, man. These things are like brand new. And then last but not least, here's the Dungeon Masters book for the red box set. And this was what you used as the Dungeon Master. This had all your, this had a beautiful key here. And wow, these pages are like so freaking bright and clean and shiny. And, here's everything about encounters, adventuring. And here's another adventure inside here. I think this is a continuation from the player's book. But here's a couple of black and white maps. There's everything for a DM in here. I mean, this is talks about everything. It has examples for using sleep spells and thief's abilities and timekeeping, turning undead. And like I said, this is just for levels 1 to 3. And here's everything for Thaco, your to hit. Here's all of your massive amount of monsters. And in fact, for the first book, levels 1 through 3, there were a ton of monsters. I mean, there really were. I mean, there are just pages and pages of them. Look at that. There's more monsters in this level 1 through 3 book than some core books. Wow, that's amazing. Look at all those monsters, man. And then here's all the different types of treasure. And, basic D&D is all about tables, rolling on tables. Look at all these tables for magic items and treasure and cursed items and miscellaneous items. Look at that. Awesome. And then it has descriptions for, all of these magic items. I mean, this is beautiful, man. Look at it. Wandering monster tables. All the reference charts for your saving throws, for your Thaco for your players and Thacos for your monsters. I mean, look at that, man. Man, this is in such great shape, and I can't tell you how many times I looked and read through this. Man, I'm so glad I took care of this stuff. But that's the red box. That is the ever famous red box for basic D&D. So when you hear someone say, "Oh yeah, I had the red box as a kid," this is what they're talking about. Beautiful. Like I said, B equals basic, and that's for levels 1 through 3 in basic Dungeons and Dragons. Next is the blue box. This is set 2. This is the expert rules. E equals expert, everybody. And expert rules were for levels 4 to 14. 4 to 14. So a much larger level range for the E box set. So let's just dive. This was the box that was probably in the worst shape, but I didn't care because the guy had every single box set, and I was like, dude, send them to me. But this one's got a little concavement, but I stand these up straight so I don't have any problems with that happening. But here you go. Here's the companion rules, man, and here's everything that comes with B2. So as you can see with, the second box set, the E-box set, you get one book that has everything for players and DMs, and then you get the Isle of Dread. One of my favorite modules. This is one of my top 10 favorite modules, and I'm going to talk about this in the X series of modules that I have sitting on my shelf. That's the whole point of what's on Dave's shelf, everybody. I'm excited. I'm hyped. This brings back so many memories. But here you go. I don't think any dice came with this. Yeah, it did. It came with dice and a pencil, but I don't have them. I would have used, in fact, I think these are in my dice bag from when I was a kid because they matched. But I don't have the crayon. I don't know what happened to the crayon. I probably ate it or something. So here's character information for higher level games. This is sort of like a reference sheet. This is nice, man. I used to keep this with me all the time. I would keep it in my paper, the Trapper Keeper. Remember the Trapper Keepers back in the 80s with the cool checkerboard sunglasses and the checkerboard road going off into the distance, into the sunset? Oh my gosh, I used to have this in my Trapper Keeper. And in fact, I used to keep these books when I would just bring like one book at a time. I would have everything in my Trapper Keeper. If you don't, if you're a youngin watching this video, you need to go to Google and Google Trapper Keeper. It was a huge thing for you to have a Trapper Keeper in the 1980s, early to middle 80s. Yeah, Trapper Keepers are where it's at. It's what you kept organized for school. So this had everything you needed. This had, all of the different experience tables for the different classes. And I believe there is another one with this too. But here's one of them. And then here's all your saving throws, etc. So here's the expert rule book. Oh my goodness. This has everything for level 4 to 14. And it's set up just like your red book was, your red box book. So I'm going to kind of move this over here so I don't bend it. But yeah, this has everything. That famous piece of art. Here's all the players' information. So you can see here's everything for levels 1 to 14 now. So it adds everything on top of the red box. It adds all your new levels of spells for your cleric. Look at all these massive first level spells, a total of 8 first level cleric spells. I think there were like 40 advanced first level spells, and there's just so many spells now in all the other editions of basic Dungeons and Dragons up to 5th edition. So yeah, this has all your spells, and here's all your magic user stuff, all the fighter stuff. This has everything you need. I mean, you'll get the big expanded thieves abilities tables now. Oh, being a thief was rough at first level. It's not like D&D 5th edition where I get advantage and I get proficiency and double expertise. And dude, you had a 10% chance to hide in shadows in basic D&D at level 1. You had 10%. It was rough being a rogue. And now that I look back, I have nothing but respect for people that tried to play rogues and try to be sneaky and stabby because, dude, it was crazy. It was difficult for a rogue. I mean, even past level 10 and even past 14. I mean, hell, you only had a 68% chance to move silently at 14. And you only had a 56% chance to hide in shadows. That's tough at level 14. So here's all of the demi-human stuff. There was an elf, a dwarf, and a halfling. And this was all of the stuff for players. And now here's the Dungeon Master section. The Dungeon Master section for Expert, this was a huge expansion to the game. This added wilderness adventure stuff. So all the randomness for wilderness adventures and stuff like that. The new experience tables. And yeah, this is crazy, man. Yeah, there we go. There it is right there. Here's how to design wilderness adventures and stuff. So this was a huge addition to basic D&D for levels, 4 to 14. And here's Threshold. Threshold is part of the Grand Duchy of Karamikos. And there's a whole 15 book and 1 box set, massive, over 1,000 pages of Gazetteer lore for the Mystara, the world of Mystara, the known world. And the Expert book is the first book that started to add cities and content for the known world. And, here's all, it's so great. I love this. And the Gazetteers were what really got me into D&D. Here's the Grand Duchy of Karamikos. Here's map number 1. And this is nothing. Karamikos is massive. You should see the maps and stuff that I have. The big, the big map, fold-out maps. Oh, my goodness. Here's all your wilderness encounters, your flyer types of monsters, your swimmers, your dragons, your insects. Here's more dungeon wandering monsters that go over level 3. So here's a 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 10 table. Now they're starting to introduce hex maps. So good, man. Here's all the new magical treasures. Look at all those magic items, man. All the different rings, all the different missile arrows and crossbow bolts and quarrels, when they used to call bolts quarrels, by the way. All the different scrolls and the wands, and this is just so awesome, man. Man, this brings a tear to my eye looking at this stuff. It really does. All the great childhood memories that I had. It was just amazing. So many awesome people I've got to know over the years because of this beautiful game. It's just amazing. Here we are. Here's more about campaigns and using the hexes and stuff. Oh my goodness. Wilderness stuff, guys. Environment stuff. Now here's more monsters, and there were no regurgitation on the monsters from the red box set to the blue box set, the E expert set. Look at all those monsters, man. The crocodile, the chimera, the giant crab, the genie. Look at that. The displacer beast. Whoa, that's not a 5th edition creature, folks. That is a basic D&D creature. Look at that. The hellhound, the gorgon, the hippogriff. It has everything. And then you can see what the giants, look how they did multiple blocks for the giant. Not only is there the giant base, and then hill giant, stone giant, frost giant, fire giant, cloud giant, storm giant. Holy cow, man. This is just amazing the way that this was set up. And look at those monster stat blocks. Aren't those so simple and so basic? No more 3 pages for a storm giant. Oh, look at that. There's the insect swarm. Yes, there were even swarms back then. The invisible stalker. Yeah, I about got killed by an invisible stalker one time on my cleric. And that was in Undermountain. The vampire. Look at the vampire. So this has a new treasure as well. This has all the different, you can find out what the heck, you read about the heroism potion or the control potion, animal control. There's so many potions and reusable, usable scrolls and stuff. Here's the Horn of Blasting. I think this was the Horn of Blasting. There you go. There's the first iteration of the Horn of Blasting. It's going to bring a tear to my eye. Oh, my goodness. So good, man. And that's the expert rule book. Everything in one book. Here's the Isle of Dread, one of my favorite adventures. It has a couple of maps. I believe this is the second iteration of the cover. You'll see in one of my down the line videos of the X series, I have both covers and this one, so I have like 3 copies of Isle of Dread. So yeah, here's everything was so basic, beginning for the adventure, Every book had wandering monsters. You had new monsters in the back. And these new monsters weren't in the beginner box set or the expert box set. And yeah, it had everything you need to run the Isle of Dread adventure. Oh, and this was great. This had all kinds of hex crawling, and there were all kinds of villagers. So spoilers, if you haven't read this, too bad, because I'm doing spoilers. There's a lot of sandbox. There's a lot of sandbox feeling to this adventure too, when you travel around. But the key is to. I'm not going to get too much into, but here's a Tenaroa camp. This is like the main camp of the Isle of Dread, and there's all kinds of other central plateaus, and then there's a wicked dungeon at the end where you got to find out something about the adventure, and I'll let you guys read about the Isle of Dread. But this is one of my top 10 favorite modules, I think. Yeah, I think it's definitely in the top 10. So that's box set 2, the E equals expert box set. And like I said, levels 4 to 14. Oh my goodness, isn't that awesome? Next, we got set 3, which is C, and C equals what? I'm holding my hand up to my ear. That's right, everybody. I heard you all say it. This is C equals companion. And there are 2 books in this. No adventure, but the companion box set is for character levels 15 to 25. And here's the Player's Companion, which is book 1. This has everything you need for your characters for levels 15 to 25. Well, look at that. I do remember that this did introduce new armor and weapons and stuff. New ways to level up your character. Look at that classic art, man. Oh, look at that. It also added new rules for unarmed combat, like striking and wrestling and stuff like that. So box set 3 did add that also. Oh, look at that. Oh, also it added rules for strongholds as well. Now here's all of the classes for levels 15 to 25. So here you go. Here's your cleric, level 15 to 25. All your turn undead tables, saving throw tables, all that stuff was upgraded. Here's all the new 5th level and up spells in here, and it introduces the druid as well. So the druid first kind of made an appearance in Dragon Magazine, I remember, and you had to be I believe it was a level 9 cleric before you did a massive quest to become a druid. And then when you became a druid, you got druid spells. So here's the new druid class. Here you go. Everything for the fighter, for the magic user, and then for your demi-humans as well. Oh, look at that. So beautiful. Had a bunch of monsters that you could start summoning and stuff, because the higher levels you could summon monsters, and that was crazy. Here's all the new thief stuff. So you could be a level 25 rogue and finally have a 78% chance to hide in shadows. 78% chance at level 25. You're getting there, rogues. So yeah, and then here's the demi-human stuff with the dwarf, the elf, and the halfling. And then here's a bunch of new map symbols that they added with box set 3 as well. So I loved reading the Dungeon Master book, because this is where, monsters were, magic items, and all that stuff. So this is actually a larger book than the Player's book. And, this is about creating a fantasy world, about dominions and, all that stuff. So this goes with sieging and everything. So here's mass combat rules. Mass combat, which I'm not a big fan of mass combat in basic D&D. It's very, very, very cumbersome. But here's the start of mass combat. And there's a lot of mass combat rules. In the players, in the rule Cyclopedia, there's a whole chapter dedicated just to mass combat. Then it starts to talk about the planes and stuff, and here's all of the new to hit tables with THACO. Here's all of the monster to hit tables, saving throws, all characters and monsters. And here's all kinds of, new monsters. Here's, wow, look at that. The Beholder, look at that. And then there's, planar monsters as well. Starts going into the dragons, the different age of dragons, whether they're young or adult or, elder dragons as they were called. So there's tons more monsters, all level 15 to 25, and it's awesome. Then here's more charts and tables for higher level loot ranges. The monsters were starting to have a treasure type, A to like Z or something, double Z or something like that. And then you would roll on these tables and find out gold and gems and magic items and everything else. So here's all kinds of new items, new potions, scrolls. And what I think what happens here is they take box set 1 and 2 and merge those tables into these tables, so you don't have all these different level ranges of tables. So I believe that they took all of those and put all of those tables in here, because there's like the basic healing potion and stuff. So that's how I kind of put 2 and 2 together there, because I'm smarts like that. I'm smarts. And then here's all the different magic items and their, descriptions and stuff like that. So that's, everything. And then there's I believe there's stuff on helping you with weapons as well. But man, look at all these different effects that you can put on weapons. So now it has all the different things that you can add to weapons or missile items or ammunition. So there's a lot of options in here to create your magic items as well. So here's like a small adventure called the Golden Dagger, and it has it broken up into parts. But yeah, there you go. Oh, box set 3. Well, there you go. Marvel Superheroes role-playing game by this point. Oh, Star Frontiers is still going. Good times, man. This brings back so many good memories. Oh, my goodness. We're getting there, everybody. We are getting there. Here's box set 4. This was a massive box set for Dungeons & Dragons. This is the black box. This is the M set 4. And what does M mean? That's right, it's Master Rules. And this is for character levels 26 to 36. Holy cow. We played the same game for about 12, 15 years, and we only got to level 31. We never got to max level, which after that, there's Immortal. But that's a whole nother ball game. So this has what's in the box as well on the backside. Basically just 2 books. No adventures, nothing like that. For character levels 26 to 36, if you made it to the Master Rules books, your character was an extreme badass, and I'm not kidding. Characters were awesome. So here you go. These are the worst shape books that I have, actually. You can see some of the paints coming off of the book. Here's a player's book. It's set up like all the others, Levels 26 to 36. Here's, your cleric again, level 26 to 36. We'll check out the rogue. There's your new druid spells. Your new fighter stuff. New magic stuff. It talks about creating magic items and stuff. Here's all the new spells. Here's your thief. And now it has everything from 21 to 36. Look at that. Look at that. You have a 195% chance to pick pockets at 36 level. You have finally, at level 36, if you make it that far, you finally have a 100% chance to hide in shadows. Oh, the poor rogues, man. I'm telling you, man. The rogue was a brutal class to play in basic Dungeons & Dragons. It really was. Look at that beautiful art, man. Gosh, easily art there. There's the demi-human stuff. And, you'll notice that the 4 core classes, the humans, the cleric, the fighter, and then the thief and the magic user, they could go to level 36. But you'll see here, the demi-humans or the hybrid classes, they only had a max level of 12 and 10 and 8. So the dwarf could only go to 12, the elf could only go to 10, and then the halfling could go to 8. But you'll notice that the asterisk says that you can go ahead and start using fighter stuff for these classes. And in the Cyclopedia book, there were options to go higher level for, the hybrids. But the hybrids, their saving throws are crazy ridiculous. So you had much better saving throws than the fighter and the other humans. I mean, yeah, it was tough. So here's the complete THAC0 for all characters. Level 1 to 36, guys. It's all broken up by magic user or, cleric, thief, fighter, demi-human. So good. And then here's, some new armor. It introduces new weapons like pole arms and stuff like that. But where the master box set shines, and this was, dude, as soon as we saw this, we were like, we are using the new weapon mastery. Oh, look at that. This is so tedious at first until you figured out what was going on. But basic D&D is exactly what it's advertised as, basic. And basic D&D, all you did was swing a weapon. But when the Master Box set came out, it introduced all of these different weapon masteries. And every single weapon in Dungeons and Dragons had a chart that they could look to see what kind of, effects they wanted on their weapons and how they wanted to train. So obviously fighters got to train in a lot of different weapon masteries. But take, for instance, you have, here's the blackjack. The blackjack is like a club, all right? And the blackjack, if you're at basic skill, you do 1d2 damage. But if you spend another weapon mastery into skilled, your damage goes to 2d4. Well, from 2 to 4. And then once you train more to expert and mastery and grandmaster, hell, your damage can go to d6, d4 up to +4. And here's the bastard sword. You'd start at a 1d8 +1, and as you trained more, you would go up to 1d8 +3, or d8 +5, or a d10 +8. So your damage, just kept going up and up and up. And that was awesome with weapon mastery, because, we were looking at ways to enhance the game, either it be through adding things through Dungeons and Dragons Advanced First Edition or Second Edition Advanced, or in my case, I would introduce different skills and attacks from the Talislanta game as well. So when this weapon mastery came out, oh man, my friends and I, we were so happy about this, because not only did you get damage increases, you also got like bonuses to your armor class, and you got different effects that you could do, like delay or stun or deflect, or you could get a second attack. You can break weapons. You can charge in. So yeah, this was massive for basic D&D. Oh man, that was so massive. The weapon mastery system. Oh, so awesome. And then here's introducing siege equipment as well into your D&D game. Because remember, the companion box set, it introduced mass combat and kingdoms and, stuff like that. And now you add siege equipment into your mass battles and stuff through the master set. Oh, so good, man. And then here's the DM's book. And then this one's in a little rough shape, but that's okay. So, here's everything talks about anti-magic effects and all kinds of different notes for, giving your players treasure and stuff. And, now that you got mass combat, you got kingdoms. Now here's optional rules to, tax your people and stuff like that. So the game, and we used all this stuff. I mean, and this goes, oh man, the Orcs of Thar. That's a gazetteer, by the way, and I'll show you that. But my kingdom, my cleric, I was a lord, and I was level 30 plus. I was 31, 32, and I would tax my lands. And there were all kinds of different ways that you could produce agriculture and everything. And I would trade with the other players that we were playing with, and all our kingdoms were together. And then and that was with taxes and all that stuff, and it was awesome. So we went on an adventure, and we were gone for like a year, but we had all of our other, we had our henchmen, because you can have henchmen are a big part of Dungeons and Dragons, and all of our the Orcs of Thar. Anyway, they were to the north of our lands. They were to the north of Karamikos, and the Orcs of Thar came down and destroyed all of our kingdoms. So when we got back from this year-long adventure, we didn't even have, but it was kind of realistic, because the Orcs attacked all of our kingdoms. And all of our kingdoms were destroyed, except for my friend Terry's kingdom. His kingdom was okay, because he was kind of in a mountainous region, so he got better bonuses and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the Orcs of Thar, man, and we went up to Thar, and we kicked their ass, dude. Especially being level 30 characters going up there, I mean, there were some pretty tough warlords and stuff, but we just decimated that place. So then it kind of talks about getting into immortals and stuff once you get past level 36, but the immortal box set, I think that might have been a last minute thing to do, because it does talk about immortal stuff in here going past level 36, but then the immortal box set came out, and then there was like, full blown rules and stuff like that. So all kinds of like high level creatures. Here's like the great dragon with a minus 12 AC, which is, you're pretty much in God mode with a minus 12 AC. All the lich and all of the different lava oozes and the reveners, the Sasquatch. There you go. There's Bigfoot. He does exist. He's a 5 hit die creature. The Sphinx. All these good things. And then here's another part of the monsters that are from the other planes and stuff. And then look at all these other monsters. I mean, this is just crazy amounts of monsters. And the stat blocks are just so easy to read. Love it. Here's about artifacts, creating artifacts, and then here's ways to create the artifacts with different powers that you can put on them. And look at this. There are tons. There's, 100 different ways to create an artifact with, you can aid, you can add senses, bonus to attacks, different flies and mental attacks. I mean, there's just so much to create artifacts and magic items with, man. And then here's a little bit more that you can create, I guess, to bring the thief abilities up to par. Here's a bunch of thief ability ways to create artifacts for thieves as well. So, yeah, this just has everything. And this is pretty much the entire game. And then here's a bunch of, completed artifacts in the back. Awesome. And then we have the gold box set, or the gray box set. This is the fifth box set, fifth and final box set. This is the I. And what does I equal as I put my hand up to my ear? That's right, it is immortal. And this is levels 36 and above. This is my least favorite box set. I wasn't a huge fan of the immortals, but there you go. I don't even think these dice came with it. I think because they were the same color, I think I just threw them in the box. So here's the player's guide to immortals, and Immortals was just crazy, and I got an Immortals story for you. We wanted to try this out, and it was Godzilla weekend on Channel 24, which, Channel 24 is public access and stuff. And they used to run like Doctor Who and Godzilla and a bunch of like Chinese horror movies and stuff. And we were like, okay, let's try Immortals. Because we were watching Godzilla, and Godzilla, of course, was just tearing up everything on TV. So we decided to do an Immortals game. And it lasted about a couple of hours. And it just kind of got a little bit too overpowered. We had destroyed, there's an Immortals module that we actually played. And I think it was I3. And it was where we went and destroyed New York and Chicago. And that was pretty awesome. 2 of the armpits of the United States. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. That would be Baltimore, actually, because I'm a Browns fan, and Pittsburgh. So there you go. Yeah, but this has all of the different ways to, the 5 different ways of creating an immortal character. And I think this kind of was put together at the very end because, like I said, there was immortal stuff in the Masters box set. And then this came out, and then here's the DM's guide, and it has all kinds of high, I'm talking like super high creatures and gods and stuff like that you could, fight. And that's what most of the book is. And then here's all kinds of magical effects and stuff that you can create, all kinds of spells, and basically you can do what you want as an immortal. And, it has a lot of reference stuff as well. They had to fill pages up with something, so they put a lot of tables in there. And then here's all kinds of modifiers going well above 18 and stuff. And so yeah, this is a pretty good reference book, the DM's book. It had a lot of high level creatures and stuff that you could kill your characters rather easily. So. But there you go. There's the outer planes and stuff like that. Look at that. It's so awesome. But yeah, we didn't really get into a lot of Immortals. That was just because we weren't there. So, but this is actually a pretty rare box set from what I understand. And I bugged the crap out of my mom to buy it for me, and she bought it for me. So now with all 5 box sets, BECMI. In 1991, the Rule Cyclopedia came out. And this is the Rule Cyclopedia. I had 2 of these, 2 of these. The original Rule Cyclopedia that I bought, I gave to my son for Christmas last month. And he was upset that I gave it to him. The Rule Cyclopedia book, couple of stories here. This was the first book that I ever bought with my own money, where I didn't beg my mom, because I had already been living on my own from 15 to 18 because I was kicked out. I was a stupid kid. I got kicked out of school because of D&D. I skipped every school every day, and then I went to graduate, and they were like, no, you're not. You're out of here. So that's a whole nother video. I may even talk about it. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, when I was living in Daytona Beach, there was a Books A Million, and this thing was as big as a Walmart, and it was in Bel Air Plaza. And that's where I used to work at the Publix and the Winn-Dixie. And I'm surprised they never caught me working at the competition, because I would work overnight at Publix, stocking grocery shelves, and then I went to work, I'd sleep on the bench for a couple of hours, and then I'd go to work and bag groceries at Winn-Dixie. And I was 15 years old. I lied about my age, and I don't think I can get in trouble, but I bought a fake ID because Daytona Beach was all about partying, right? Summer, you got your spring break, your summer break, winter break, all these colleges would go there. And of course, you could get fake IDs right along A1A, Beachfront Avenue. And I got a fake ID that said I was 18 years old. But I was a big kid, man. I was like 6'2", 6'3" at 16 years old. So I could pass. So I actually got a job with a fake ID and worked at both of those grocery stores in Bel Air Plaza in Daytona Beach. So on my break one day, when I was bagging groceries at Winn-Dixie, I had just got done bringing a bunch of carts in, so I sat down on one of the islands in the parking lot, and I was taking a break, and I'm like, you know what? I was looking over at across the way, there was the Publix that I worked at, and then to the right of Publix, there was a Books A Million, back when there used to be bookstores, right? And I was like, I wonder what kind of D&D books they have. And I went in there, and they had a whole, 6-foot section of nothing but D&D books, and they had a whole stack of these rule cyclopedias. And the price is only $25, and I was like, hey, I got a whole 5-gallon bucket full of money that I've been saving up because I wasn't old enough to get a bank account, and I damn sure wasn't going to use a fake ID to open up a bank account. So I hid all of my money in a 5-gallon bucket under my sink. And by the time I was 18 years old, that bucket was full. And I'm talking cash, coins, everything. And I went into the bank, and I remember taking this 5-gallon bucket on my bike, running down. I was riding down A1A, and I about wrecked my bike about 20 times because of the weight. And I was so scared the handle was going to break on the bucket and my money was going to go everywhere. And I went into a bank. It was called Barnett Bank. And I walked in with this bucket, and the lady at the counter said, "Hey, sweetie, how can I help you?" And I was 18 now. I had an official ID and stuff, and I picked this bucket up, and I put it up on the counter, and it rocked the counter, and it took all my strength. And I was like, I want to open up an account. And she goes, "Where did you get all this money?" I said, "I've been saving it up for 3 years, and I couldn't have a bank account, so I want to put my money in your bank." And dude, and this was at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was there until they closed because there were no machines to roll change or anything. I had to literally get those coin sleeves, and they made me count all my change, put it in these coin sleeves, and then I had to write my name. I had to write my social security number on all these, and I opened up my account at 18, and I was so stoked. And I had my first checkbook and all that stuff. And I went right over, and I just kept buying more D&D books. I'd buy one book a week. And but yeah, sorry about that story. But yeah, there you go. Rule Cyclopedia. That was the first book that I bought with my own money, and it went into hiding for a long time. I was playing MMOs, and my son was born. I almost sold all my D&D stuff for $2 a book so I could buy a pack of diapers, and I'm so glad I didn't. I'd be jumping off the tallest bridge in El Paso right now if I did sell everything for $2 a book. That guy tried to shiest me out of all my D&D books. Shame on you, dude. Seriously. Shame on you. But anyway, I never sold them. My son found my D&D books because he was snooping through my closet, I guess. And he would take my Rule Cyclopedia book because my son lived with his mother. And he would take this with him back home. And it was I had a library system. He wanted to take all my books. And I'm like, no, dude, you're going to destroy them. You're 6 years old. And this book helped my son with his reading because my son didn't give a crap about reading in school. And, I would tutor him. His mother did an unbelievable job, teaching him how to read and stuff. I'd help him when he came over here. But his reading took off, man. When he found this Rule Cyclopedia and he started reading about all the monsters and stuff, dude, his reading just went through the roof. And he was at such a high level that he was tutoring the kids in his class to help them read. So, D&D is great, man. It's great for your mind. It's great for reading levels. It's great for basic mathematics. I mean, it's not a devil worshiper game. I got that speech from, what was it? Dan Rather and 2020 or something like that. Oh, D&D's devil worshippers and yeah, that was dumb. Way to go, Dan. But anyways, Rule Cyclopedia. So I gave my son. This is one that I had bought later, and it's in really good shape too. And but I gave the one that my son had that he would always take. And I always told him to keep it in great shape and not to write in it or fold the pages. And he never did. He kept it in great shape. And I gave it to him. And then I also had a character sheet booklet, sort of like this. And he and I would make character sheets. And his first character he ever made was a dwarf. And he named him Brownie Beard. And it was so cute, man. He did his best to draw a dwarf in the character portrait. And man, such good memories. I'm getting like emotional with you guys now. So, but yeah, I gave my son that character sheet book too for Christmas. And it felt good to do that because, it's something that he and I connected as a father and son. We'd go fishing and stuff like that all the time. But man, he loved those D&D books, and so I gave him the Rule Cyclopedia, and I gave him the character sheet book with all his character sheets that he made, and yeah, it was good times. Sorry about that. Yep. Sorry, guys. It's it's tough living, 2,000 miles away from your son. Thank God I don't have my cam on. Big wuss. Yep. So the Rule Cyclopedia, and sorry about that, everybody. This is actually a print on demand that I got because I didn't want to ruin, the original Rule Cyclopedia. I didn't want to ruin it, so the I think it was D&D. What is it? RPG Now? Yeah, RPG Now. You could get this book. I think it was $35 for this beautiful book, and it's a million times better than I thought it was going to be. And of course it's black and white, but there is, the green color from the tables and stuff. And then it has the Mistar in the back, all the maps. I mean, this is beautiful. It was $35 for a print on demand, and you got a free PDF for it. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, but yeah, the Rule Cyclopedia, everybody. Man, I'm really sorry about that, everybody. I didn't expect that to happen. Man. So yeah, you got, this is all 5 box sets in one book. The whole game, 304 pages. I think it's 304 pages. Yeah, 304 pages. The entire game. Man, it's awesome. But there you go. Rule Cyclopedia. if you can get one of those print on demands, because the books are actually pretty expensive. They're anywhere between like 50 to 150 bucks depending on the shape. I don't think they printed very many of them. Then you got, set 5 Immortals, level 36 plus, your Mastered Rules, introduced, probably one of the best box sets, introduced Weapon Mastery, level 26 to 36. Here's set 3, your Companion Rules. This is, levels 15 to 25. You got your Expert box set, level 4 to 14. And then where it all started. Of course, there's the other 2 older box sets that are before this. The Holmes box sets. Level 1 through 3. So, there you go, everybody. That's what's on Dave's Shelves for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry about the moment there that I kind of freaked out. I just missed my son, and this brings back memories, so I didn't expect that to happen. and I apologize about that for the dead air there. But yeah, good memories though. So you guys feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below. I'll be reading the comments. I'll be answering them and all that other good stuff. So if you like the video, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And until next time, happy gaming, stay safe, and I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.